My name is Rosemary, and I am going to make nut roll, kolač, or you can call it patica. Patica is a Croatian name for the roll. Then I've got the kolač, which is the Slovak way. We're used to making the Slovak nut roll. I'm going to start with the yeast. I have a half a cup of warm water. I'm going to add the sugar, which is 1 teaspoon. And then I'm going to add 3 packages of dry yeast. Gotta wait maybe 5 minutes so it starts getting a little fermented. We've melted 1 pound of butter and we waited until it gets cool. So therefore, we'll start with that and get that butter into a bowl. Next, we're going to add 16 ounces of sour cream. Getting this in there. I'm going to beat that together. I've got to combine all these ingredients. I've got a few more to tell you what they are. But right now, sour cream and butter together. Now comes the salt, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and I've got to beat this with the beater to make sure it's all blended. I am beating everything so far, the sour cream and the butter. I want to make sure it's completely blended and it's doing very good. Next, I'm going to add the sugar, which is 1 cup of sugar. Blending that together. Not all at once, because it will kind of clog up. So I'm going a little slow on the sugar to blend it in. It's getting nice and thick. Okay, now go the 6 yolks. Gotta get the yolks in to blend them in. Oops, add a little bit more sugar. Now we'll go with the yolks. Once again, it's 6 yolks. This is going to make this recipe, we'll make around 8 nut rolls. So, gotta like nut rolls, but you can freeze them. They freeze. They will keep up to 4 or 5 months in the freezer. Now I'm beating all of these ingredients together, and then we will start filling it with the 9 cups of flour. You can vary, 9 to 10 cups. Gotta clean that out. The yeast usually sticks to the side. And slowly, we'll start with the flour. The dough is not that hard. It really isn't. Let's give it a little bit more mixing. We're going to add the flour, probably 1-2 cups, a little bit at a time. Not all at once, at least till we can get it, till it gets so thick, then we've got to go with our hands. And you can see the thickness, it's starting to get thicker. Then, once you can't use the mixer, then we will go with our hands. Because the dough is a heavy dough. Well, in a sense I call it heavy. It's just a lot of dough. Now once we get our dough done, we will have to put it overnight to settle, grow. It'll get higher, but the dough has to rest overnight. I've been adding all the flour. Got a little bit more left. And we will have accomplished our dough. There we are. We've got 9 cups in here. Gonna have a lot of nut rolls. You know, my husband loved his mother's pizza. And every holiday I'd watch him make his sandwich. He would take sliced ham and he would put the ham on the pizza. And I would say, how could you do that? But then I realized pizza is not sweet. It's got more dough. So therefore, because I couldn't figure out putting pieces of ham. But that was his only way that he would eat nut roll. Not like I do. I've got to have it with coffee, glass of milk. That's my favorite. But I think I took over the Slovak way because this is my mom's recipe. And she always made it this way. So I've been staying with it all these years. And there's a lot of years here of making nut rolls. So I'm kneading it the best way possible, at which point I'm going to cover it with some wax paper, and it's going to rest overnight till we can start rolling it out after I make the nuts. This dough is now ready. I'm going to cover it, refrigerate it overnight, and then we will make nut rolls once I get the nuts started. Got to grind the nuts and make the filling. I like a good filling, so that should be ready, and we'll have a completed nut rolls. We've waited the 24 hours. Our dough sat, and now she has risen somewhat. And now I've taken the dough and cut it into 8 sections. We'll have 8 nut rolls. Now I've got the food processor, and this bag had 3 pounds of walnuts. Naturally, they were whole. So now they've got to get into the food processor and get ground up. So here we go. I'll show you what they will look like. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to run it on pulse. Let's check it. Looks pretty good. It's not real fine, but it's a very good type of nut for the filling of the nut rolls. So here it is. I might put it in for another couple seconds. Okay, that's that. Get it into our bowl, and then we'll start with the mixture that this nuts will get. Now this is all 3 pounds of the nuts. I melted 1 stick of butter in this saucepan and added 3 cups of sugar. Now I'm going to add 3/4 cup of evaporated milk into the sugar and a 1/2 cup of whole milk. Now I've got to heat this sugar to melt it and get it down so the sugar is dissolved, and then we can add it to our nuts. Into this heated mixture, I'm adding 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and it's already been melted. It's not very hot, so I'm just going to stir it in, mix it in, and then add it to my walnuts. Lastly, we will beat the egg whites, and that will go into the walnut mixture. So here we go. Slowly but surely. Slowly it's coming. It's quite a lot. 3 pounds of walnuts makes a big, big recipe. Let me go get my big spoon. Okay. Now we use the big iron hand to mix all this together. You know, it's fun if you just have to make a couple of nut rolls. But when you're making 8 of them, whoa, that's a big amount. And it takes a lot of time. But it's good to get a lot done at one time. That's for sure. I know I enjoy it. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, everybody's asking, could I have a nut roll? And I'm thinking, oh, why didn't I make more? And now I'm going to beat these egg whites. They should be beaten to a pretty good peak, but we'll try. See, because I got some. They may just get lightly peaked. All right. If you get it, it should be coming to a good peak once you get this done. Mine did not come into a peak, but I expected that since I got a drop of yolk into it. I'm going to pour some of it into the nuts. Sometimes it's good to add the lemon rind, just to give it a little flavor. So I'm going to get that done to it. Just a little tiny bit. But it just seems when you take a bite of the nut roll and you get that tiny taste of lemon, it's like, wow, gives you a good feeling. I'm going to give it that 1 cook taste. Feels good. Should be good. Here I go with some lemon zest. As I said, it's a great taste. Just to get that tang. I love it. There. Mix it in. Well, the nuts are done. Now we've got to go and roll out our dough. I sprinkled the board with flour just because it'll stop from the sticking. And I will start rolling Now I've got a cloth on my rolling pin. It's just a great piece just to hold it, and it keeps from sticking so badly. So I like it. And that's basically how it works. I've got to keep on rolling till I can get it to the thickness that I want. Kind of hard. Got to keep on turning the dough so it stays good. I want to get it into a longer dough because I'm going to roll it. There we go. It's getting slowly to the width that I want, and the thickness is good. Here it's a little, I didn't get it pretty even. We'll just try to work it. Now you can use many fillings. You could use apricot. There's so many different ones. This cannot take the cheese. It's not a cheese type filling. It's definitely only walnuts. And this is the one I like to use because I haven't got many almond people. I haven't got many apricot people. I think I've got one poppy seed person, and that's it. Otherwise, only nuts. That's what everybody wants. So it's okay. Let's just keep on going with the nuts. I'm just adding the nuts. I'm staying 1 inch from the end because it'll start, as it bakes, it could pop out. So I'm trying to avoid that. Now we're going to roll. I'm just starting it right from the edge, just a little. I don't make these very often, so when it's time, it's like, whoa, why don't you remember what you were supposed to do? You know, you make it Thanksgiving and Christmas and maybe Easter, and bingo, you forgot something. And even the 55 years I've been making these, it still gives a problem. Got one done. Let's put her in our pan. Now the rolled bottom is at the bottom. I will poke holes in here to keep the air, and therefore it keeps the dough very good. And I don't have, you know, you can get the bubbles, so that'll help. We're going to have to let this sit for a while because it needs that time to rest. So we'll keep on making more. Put them out in the oven. We've got our first 3, and in a while, once they get cooled, we'll cut it up and have some good nut roll. Some are done. These are done. So I'm going to cut a piece. See how you like it. Or at least, no, you won't see it. But it looks good. And I'm pretty happy with it. We've got 8 of them. So if you have any questions, please feel free to call us. And we'll be happy to give you any information. Thank you very much for watching.